Hello, and welcome to another code walkthrough for Postgres for Everybody. In this code, we're going to walk through both the client and the server code for my KVAdmin tool that I have you install as part of your activity in this course. And this is in GitHub.com csev Deno-KV-admin. And so the instructions, I've got a whole, let me go to the README here. The README in this repo is the all instructions, and I've done this already in another video, so you should watch that video first. It tells you how to install both the server side of the admin and the client side of the admin. And so what I want to do here, let me go into the command line, is I want to build a tool that's like the PSQL or the MySQL client, where you can kind of connect to a database and then type commands into that database. And so there's a database here, and we don't have a protocol. We don't have a KV protocol. There is a KV protocol, but it's just easier for me to build a little web service endpoint so I can show it all to you. And I will point out right away that KV is in absolute beta right now. I mean, by the time you're watching this, it could be beyond beta and in way better shape. But for now, it's kind of fun to play with it at the beginning, and it gives me the opportunity to build this little PGAdmin tool and explore the underlying thing. There's been a couple of open source admin, like PHP MyAdmin things for KV, but the vector of the code is moving so rapidly that those things are they go out of date too fast, and so that's why we just have to build one. And so, when you're done with that install process, you should have in Deno dashboard, you should have an instance. And that instance will have all that code, and you can see the logs, you can see the KV data. Now, I would hope that one of these days they're going to build a complete admin tool to set, delete, query everything. I don't understand why there's not an admin tool here already, but there isn't. So that gives us an excuse to write one. And so here's the admin tool that I wrote. It's called KVAdmin.py. You download that. You download this hidden.py file and put your information in here, and then this KVAdmin talks to yours. And when it first starts up, it verifies the connection, and if it doesn't, it tells you how to start it up, or maybe you misconfigured it, but it's working. So I just made a series of commands. These are like insert, select, delete, update, right? And so this is kind of a command line interface via web services to a KV data store, okay? So let's just take a look at the KV data store on Lazy Wolf, and I'm going to say set hello, there's the key, and then I'm going to put in a little bit of JavaScript, a JavaScript object. Well, let's do it on 2 lines, and then I can say name PG4E. So you can send any JSON to this thing, so long as it's valid. Let's see if I got it valid. And there it goes. So now at some point, we can look in this, and there is a new key. Hello there. I put that in. Now, let's trace that all the way through. And so I'll go through all these things. The sampled command, if you type samples, it will give you some sampled JSON because it's hard to type it. Set and get are the primitives, like insert and select. I wish they called set put, because I'm a Python person. I'm like, oh, it's got to be a put. And in most key values in most languages, it's put and get, not set and get. But I get why they say set and get. So I just ran a set. Now, what happens in this Python code, let's take a look at what happens in the KVAdmin.py. So here's the code. So let's look at set. Set. There we go. This is the code for set, and it's pretty simple. It it has broken the line into two lines, so it's using blanks, and so sometimes you can put I can put stuff there. So if I say set slash second thing, if I can type my JSON with no spaces, x colon y, it will see that second parameter. It can't be any spaces here. That's my thing. You can fix it if you want, but I made it so that just split that on spaces, and so that's going to send the JSON. Oh, rat. Okay, that's going to send the JSON document. Second thing, XY. So if you look at the code for KVAdmin, it splits that command into two pieces. And if there's greater than or equal to two pieces and the first one is set, then what it does is it takes the second piece, which is /KV, oh, here we go, books / Hamlet. That is pieces sub 1. And so it's going to have the URL, which is not supposed to have a trailing space, /KV / set, that's going to make a URL, then /books / Hamlet, and then it just adds the token. And it's fiddling around. Now it's prompting for the JSON, unless the JSON was on the command line. Text equals pieces sub 0 or text equals read JSON. Then we're going to parse it to make sure it's valid. If it doesn't parse right, the read JSON has a bunch of error checking, so that's kind of cool. But if data is none, we're going to continue, and then we're going to dump it just for debugging. And if we're going to set the content type, because we're about to post this, we print the URL out, and then we do a post request with the headers and that JSON body. And we give ourselves 30 seconds. Part of that is the 30 seconds is because it can take time to cold start the server. And then we get the status and we print it out. If things go wrong, we get all kinds of tracebacks and stuff. And you could clean this code up a lot, but I wanted to keep it simple so it could all be on one page to read. And so you can see that for the set, it went and constructed that URL, lazywolf17 Deno dev /KV /set /hello /there, token equals 42. And then the actual JSON is in the post body. And so let's take a look at what happens in the server, okay? And so if we take a look at our code, this is the code running. It was installed from GitHub in the previous video. This is using a framework called Hono, and Hono is one of the many frameworks. Deno is really JavaScript, and then you still have to have kind of a web serving, just like Python is a language. Python Anywhere runs Python online, and Django is a framework. So you got to decide, I'm going to run Django inside Python Anywhere. And so we're going to run Hono inside Deno Deploy. This is this line here, const kv equals await deno.open kv, open paren, close paren, semicolon. That line is the coolest line of all. And because if you've done this in Postgres, you know that you need a URL, an ID, and a password. The key thing is this is running in the context of the app lazywolf17, which means there's a database in the context of lazywolf17, right? And so here we are looking at the KV database in lazywolf17. Why would you even need a password? You're already in the application, which is, now you can put parameters on here, but in this case, it's just like open the database that is associated with this running application. And the basic database connection here in JavaScript is in the variable KV, and we're going to use it. So now let's take a look at the server side code. And so it's coming in /set. Actually, that's really /KV /set. I got to fix that. I'll fix that in the source code after this video, but this is kind of, that documentation is wrong because the real URL is /KV /set, and then the key is the next parameters. But that's okay. It's right here in the code. It's just not right in that comment, which I'll fix that. You can go back and see that later. So we grab the key, and this says app post, and you'll see that there's a whole series of, these are like a case statement, and this is there's a router eventually. Deno serve is a router that picks, based on the URL, to run this code sequence. And the request data comes in the variable C. And we're saying we route to us paths that start with /kv/set/, and then this colon key says, give me the rest of the path, whatever it is, like set books Hamlet, give that to me in the parameter key. So first we check the token, and that's a little bit of code that checks to see if whatever this number is right, and it throws a exception and sends a 401 back if the token's not right, and so it just continues on if the token is right. So we grab the key off of the URL, and I got a console log. Let's go find the console log. Let's take a look at the logs. Come on, log. What? How come the log's not right? Let's go to this URL and see if we can't wake the logs up. I don't quite understand why the logs are not there. Okay. So logs here. Oh wait, I know what I did. I have not yet deployed this because, come back. Or have I deployed this? Console.log path key. It's been deployed. Oh, and there's, oh, I see, here's the log right here. Okay, let's run it again and make sure the log is working. Let's just rerun this second thing one here. Okay, did the log come out? Dang it, I just closed it. Oh, there we go. I'll open the KV store up again. Okay, so you can see finally I get this console log. The console log, first console log is path is the key, is second/thing. So that is parsing the URL, right? And it's parsing the key, which I've serialized this with a slash because it's just a little easier. But the real key is an array. It's a hierarchical array, second thing. If we go look at the documentation, it's probably time to start talking to the documentation here. So we're doing this KV set code. This is at docs.deno.com/deploy/kv/manual. So you see in this little set section that we're opening the KV. We're creating prefs as a object with keys and values. And then we're going to do a kv.set with an array that has 2 strings in it, preferences and ADA. Now again, these are hierarchical. And then with the second parameter is the JSON object in this case, the JavaScript object, and that's what's being stored. And that's the code that we are basically running here, right? I'm showing the key. Undo. I'm showing the key, then I am splitting the key, and I'm showing the array, and then passing in the array and the body, and that is it. And then we get a result back, and that result, if you look at the result, it's like the timestamp and the fact that it was successful. I'm not really checking the result, I'm just showing you the result here, okay? And so that is what's going on, is we are going a full web service call. So let's say get/second/thing. And there we go. So you'll notice that every GET request includes the key and the value, and you'll see later that sometimes we just store a key and keep data in the key. And sometimes the value is even empty, but in this case the value is X maps to Y. And we're calling /kv/get/second_thing, and that is going to route to this much simpler request, which is anything that has a prefix of /kv/get/ route to this code and give me the rest of the key. And so all we do is we check the token, we grab the key value, we split the key into an array, because that's what we have to talk to KV as an array, and then we get it and we send back the result. And so that's the result that comes back right here, which has got it's a JSON object with a key and a value. Okay? So that's pretty simple. So let's go to the KV Quick Start, and you see how a get works, right? Await, const entry equals await KV get, open paren, preferences eta, close paren. So again, you're getting it with a JavaScript array. So let's take a look at this is a select. You could think of the get as a select with a primary key, right? It's all a logical key here, but it's got to be an exact match. But you can do a prefix, and this is more like a select, kind of where, you know, something equals, not instead of just a key, but it's like a prefix, okay? And so, okay, we'll skip the get many. The one I really want to look at is the list. KV list, you pass in a prefix of preferences, okay? And so I'm going to show you that in the KVAdmin. I'll clear it. List slash second. Is that going to work? Yeah. So list slash second says I want a array of records. So you'll see that the records here is an array, and anything that starts with slash second. Okay. Give it back to me, and so you see that's their second thing in XY. Let's set another thing. Slash second slash Bob. Let's put an empty thing in that, an empty value inside of slash second slash Bob, and now I can say list slash second, and you will see there are two there, and we're told the key in each of the records. It's an array of records, and by the way, there is a whole mechanism for paging that we're not going to play with too much. This cursor thing right here is the paging, and you pass the cursor back in on successive things. If you only get, like, if you have thousands and you get the first 100, cursor is the way that you move through it. But you see there's a key, there's second Bob that's got a value of nothing, an empty object, which is different than null, and second slash thing with a key of X and Y. And so that's the list. And if we take a look at the code for list, all we do is we take the key, and we've got this cursor support. If we pass in the parameter cursor, if there's more than one ever, I don't have that working in the admin client, but it splits the key and then passes the cursor in if it really wanted to do it, and then loops through it and sends back the records. And the cursor as well, it sends back the records and the cursor, so that you can, if there was more than the limit of 100. So I've got a const extra limit colon 100, which says it'll only give the first 100, but in my example, I'm only doing 2. Okay? And so this is just, you know, you'll see this over and over and over again. So let's go see the Python. Let's go look at the Python for delete. Delete. Okay, so we're going to do delete books Hamlet. The delete prefix works. I'll do the delete prefix as well. And so here we go. It's going to create a URL that looks like KV delete, or delete prefixes, and then the key, and then the token. So let's go ahead and say delete, slash second slash Bob. And so we can say list slash second, and we see that it was deleted. And again, the delete code, I mean, because Hono makes this so easy, right? The delete code in the server simply, you know, routes the prefix, then grabs the rest of it, then splits the rest of it, and calls the delete method. And you'll notice we're sending an HTTP delete, not a post, not a get. It's an HTTP delete. And then delete prefix is a little trickier. So I'll just say delete prefix. And one thing I should say, delete underscore prefix slash second. So while there are no tables in Deno KV, we kind of often treat this first piece of the key as the table. So like it'll often be called users or whatever. So I'm going to delete prefix second. And so it's going to go through and grab second and it calls KV list with a prefix, just like the list operation, splits the key, right? It could be, it could be more than one thing, but it has to be a prefix. And then it basically loops through those things that it got, and then it deletes them, and then it remembers them, and then it sends a nice console log. Let's see if I can see that console log. Sends a nice console log that says what we just deleted. We deleted one key with the prefix second, and if we go back here, you will see that it told us it returned the keys that it deleted. Okay, and so if we do now a list /second, there are no records, and that's okay. We can say list, come on, list XYZ. There are no records under the key XYZ, but it's not a failure to ask the question. It's like a select, and the select gives you nothing back. So let's go back and we already talked about the delete, right? The delete is a direct key. It's got a match, it's not a prefix. And there's you can delete. I used the list and delete to accomplish my delete prefix. And so I think we mostly covered everything that I've got going here. Let's go back into, I got a full reset 42, which allows me to wipe them all out, but I don't have a command inside the PGadmin to do that. The dump is the way this doesn't check for this actually doesn't check for a key. It just dumps everything. And then we have some error work that's going to return the 401 for the bad exception. And then we have a code that you're supposed to change, which is the check token code, and you're supposed to change the token when you get to your auto grader. It'll make you put in a different token, and then you have a cron here. I've already changed it. This cron is going to do once a month rather than once an hour. Some of my other stuff I make be once an hour. But this one, Lazy Wolf 17 won't exist by the time that you get there. And so that is a quick walkthrough of the JavaScript side of this, which I think is beautiful and simple and elegant, and the Python side of this. And you can walk, you know Python, you can kind of walk through this stuff, and it's not that much stuff. It's 200 lines of code on the client, and it is 157 lines on the server. The server is JavaScript, so you kind of have to know JavaScript, but it's not that hard. Use curly braces, and after a while, you're cutting and pasting things. So I'm not going to ask you to write a bunch of JavaScript. I am just asking you to understand enough JavaScript so you can play with this, deploy your own from my code, and get it working, okay? So I think that's about the end of our little walkthrough for Postgres for everybody. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you enjoy playing with Deno KV. Cheers.